So Canada's women's side defeated Australia 2-1 in a B class friendly. What does it mean? Let's talk about it. Welcome back, guys. We are on our WOSO. What does it mean? It's basically a match reaction standpoint, and we're going to see a lot of content coming through. We have the Olympics coming up. We have youth tournaments flowing through. We may not be as frequent with the youth tournaments. Might give a quick recaps for those. But again, in preparation for the Olympics, we have the defending gold medalist, Canada's women's national team, facing off against Australia. This game happened in Spain. Canada ended up winning this matchup 2-1. We had goals by Sharon Fryer in the 23rd minute, followed by Nichelle Prince, and then Evelyn Vienne in the 41st and in the 85th minute, respectfully. And with all things, we always start off with a conversation, which is acknowledge the opponent. And on two sides, I wonder why people think that Australia is just this side that's Sam Kerr and friends. I don't know why there's still that thought that's out there. You have the Mary Fowles of the world, the Cooney Crosses, the Vines, the Cat Bories. Like, this is a quality side all across the board. Yes, you may look at them and say, well, maybe they have the one headliner, and that's a player that they seem to funnel through. She may score her goals. It's a player that makes how they play very dangerous in terms of defending and encountering. You have a 9 like that. It is very intimidating to have a player like that on the side. But let's not just boil down Australia to just one player. In a lot of teams, we have that conversation. But Australia's a quality side, and I think we've seen them grow as a footballing side over the years. And we've seen them have good results. I remember, 2019 at the World Cup, where they were able to get they had the big win over Brazil in the group stages, and it was a surprise to some, not a surprise to others. I think this Australian side, the Matildas, are a side that are always a threat to have a deep run in any tournament they are. It just will come down to how their opponent is able to adjust to them, and if they are able to if they're able to bang goals into the goal. That's a very simplified way of looking at it, but Australia's a good side. We saw in how they were possessing the ball. We saw in how they were moving around. I like the pressure. You see the ideas of their passing. You see the flow. I do wonder, with Mary Fowler being the focal point now, I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem, but those movements, those triangles of passing and trying to find pockets of space, you see that, and I'm intrigued to see what they're able to do at this Olympics. Australia's definitely a side that is they are going to have their say in who gets out of this group, and they are in a group with the US, Zambia, and Germany. It's not impossible to see them finish in second place in that group. Some may even say first. I don't think Zambia is a easy walkable side, and Germany consistently on their performances are good some games, and other games maybe just a matchup, they're just not able to perform. So I'm curious to see. Australia could make it out of this group, and it would not surprise me. But Australia, like we said, also on the very side note, Australia is a model I look at in terms of how they've grown the game that I think Canada could look at as let's model ourselves after them, even from as little as the access they have to the games, right? In Canada, we had One Soccer to try to find this game. Most friendlies of any sorts you can find on most of them on Australia's YouTube page, free of charge. And that access that they give allows you to grow fans. At one point, there was 7,000 people watching the game, I think, on their YouTube page, which is primarily international folks and whatnot. But at least you get that access, as well as different things in their sponsorship, their structures. There's a lot of interesting things. I like Australia's model for growing the game there. And just want to give that shout out there, because it's something I really do appreciate and I do love about them. So that's Australia. Now let's get to Canada here. Even though we didn't give too much match analysis there, guys, I do apologize. But anytime I see Australia, I'm excited. But when it comes to Canada, what do we learn from Canada? Well, Canada started off with the cast, Prince and Leon up top, with Jade Riviere, Jesse Fleming, Simi Wujo, Ashley Lawrence in the middle, and then Buchanan, Gilles, and Jade Rose at the back. Because it's a Class B, it means there's no substitution limits. It's not just 5. So effectively, you could rotate through the entire squad, and they did. They certainly did. Most of those substitutions were coming in after the second half. So you played the first half, and most came back after that. Things that we liked. I'm surprised that Michelle is healthy. If we want to talk about substitutions, the big talking point for Canada is you're looking at the patterns, right? You start off with Simi Wujo and Jessie Fleming, which isn't a surprise per se. I think they were playing that duo very well when it comes to the She Believes Cup and then the friendlies against Mexico. No real surprise in terms of that. Ashley Lawrence and Vanessa Shields and Kaylin were the only players who played the entirety of the game, which is speaks to their fitness. I know the one comment people will make is, okay, well, fitness-wise, the only player on Canada didn't play is Sydney Collins, which, if she is the player that could conceivably be starting for where Jade Riviere is, I think you have some concerns. If that's what you're assuming, I'm making a big assumption that Bev's going to do that. She did that against Jamaica, so I make the assumption that that will be something she's thinking about. Midfield duo, Fleming didn't have her best game. She loses the ball, and then that creates the the only goal for Australia. Simi Wujo is a player who, on the ball, is confident. And it's something with this Canadian team that I always say, I would love to get some confidence just in that 16 to 25 yard area, just to let some shots rip. And it's something I think that if Quinn ever advanced in the game, they'd be a perfect player for that. You know, they get the ball in deep after it's been advanced, maybe it's laid off for Quinn, and then they can let off a shot from distance just to try. The only players who ever really try to shoot from that distance and have any type of venom in it is really on that right side when you're looking at the left side. We're looking at Ashley Lawrence, Adriana Leon, if they do that. So it's really that form that I'm looking for. Most of the goals you see Canada score are in that 18 to 6 yard box range, which isn't a problem. You can get that. If most teams are just going to try to defend you and take that away, whether sitting in the mid block or a low block, you need to be able to threaten the goal from a little bit of distance, and then maybe that opens up those triangle passes, those 1-2 passes that allow maybe a Jessie Fleming to escape inside or a Lacasse to cut inside off of a pass because you've given them the threat of that shot. Defending up and down the pitch, again, you're looking at an 18-player roster, which means in theory, with 5 substitutions, you could go through 4 of your substitutions every game, and then maybe a goalie, you sit on that as the game goes on. But you can rotate every game, which will be interesting to see, which means players with the 18, Janine coming on, Haidama coming on, Julia Grosso coming on. Those could be, I think, Bev's first choices. I do wonder who the first 9 off the bench will be. It'll probably be Jordan. I think it should be Evelyn. Not that Jordan hasn't been playing well in the NWSL. I do think that Evelyn can, if you're looking for finding tight spaces and opportunities, I feel Evelyn's use of that space and just finding those pockets of space to operate in, she's done a better job. I'm not saying that Jordan Heidema can't do that, and she is capable of that. Her game is rounding into form, and it's been great to see her from her time at PSG all the way to Seattle Reign and what she's been able to grow her game into. But sometimes the thing that Evelyn has, well, not even the thing that Evelyn has, the thing that Jordan has, is that if things aren't working well, people will boil her game down to just sending crosses, she can get at the end of them, right? And that's good to have in that type of game, but in the game where if the game gets to that and you're chasing the goal, I think Heidema is a player if you want to boil her game down simply. I do wonder though, when you look out wide specifically, right? Your wide options are Janine Becky up top, especially if you're looking at that 3-4-3. So those two outside attackers, which are right now Chloe Lacasse and Adriana Leon, you don't have as much depth there to step in and play. So your options would either be your options are Janine Becky, and Janine can either go further up or further back. I think in that situation, that's where you put a player like a Jordan Heidema. I think her passing and her vision is greatly improved. I think if you're trying to set in players, that would be somewhere where maybe you take her off for an Adriana Leon, because in that case, if you still have some speed on there, I think she has the vision to give those straight or those diagonals and get those straight line runs at the ball for them. So nothing but speculation here. I don't think the back three changes at all. In the midfield, I think depending on the game, you're probably looking at Quinn for WOSO and then WOSO for Fleming. And then on the Jade is going to be probably a Janine Becky, which means when you look at the front line, you're looking at Haidema and Vienne. Also, Evelyn Vienne with a number 4. So my eyes have been scorched, but hey, maybe that means she'll score 4. So yeah, I think the substitutions are rather evident based off that, injuries aside. So it'll be very interesting to kind of see how it is. Again, I mentioned the goals aspect of it, which I'm curious to see where it flows. I'm also curious to see what the strategy is going to be, because for the first 20 minutes of this game, we saw Canada dominate possession, get their set pieces in from from corners and whatnot. Once Australia got a hold of the ball for the rest of the second half, it felt as if that they were going to dictate the game. And I think that's going to be the interesting balance with Bev. Does she want to try to dictate the game, or is she going to try to withstand the game, for lack of better words, and then ultimately strike on the counter, put the game away, and defend well? Does she feel like she has the 2021 in? And interestingly to me, I think she does have the players to play either style. If she wants to, for lack of better words, park the bus and then counter and win, she can do that with this side. But I also think she has enough offensive talent here where they could try to dictate the game. They could pass it out, and I think they could maybe do that. The question will come down to, can they now score? Because all that possession won't do any well. Yes, points are points, but 3 is always better than 1, even though 1 is better than none. So I think Bev has some interesting options in terms of how she wants to play. I think she has the talent and the players who are heady enough to be able to play in the offensive half and be able to create. In that case, I think it comes down to a player like Jessie Fleming really dictating the flow and the pace of the game. And I think if she's able to do that, that opens the game up. But yeah, Canada beating Australia 2-1 on a B-level friendly. You guys let me know what you think. I'm going to stop talking now.